This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
At the close, December corn down a penny at $4.25 1/2. Soybeans up 2 1/2 at $11.25 even. December soybean meal up $1.10 at $3.15.10. Soy oil down 40 cents at $50.26. Chicago wheat unchanged at $5.27 even. Kansas winter wheat up 4 3/4 at $5.11 even. Kansas spring wheat down 11 1/4 at $5.28 1/2. Minneapolis spring wheat down 7 3/4 at $5.65 even. Oats down 1/4 cent at $3.05 1/2. On the Merc live cattle down 27 cents at $214.45. Feeders down $2.15 at $314.22. Lean hogs down $1.67 at $77.80. Pork cutouts down 35 cents at $93.22, and Class 3 milk 17 cents lower at $16.15. Well, welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman, coming to you from the last day of the National Association of Farm Broadcasting Convention here in Kansas City. Coming up a little later on the program, we're going to talk with Kurt Kimmel of agmarket.net to find out how those markets close. But first, we had a chance to talk with Caleb Ragland. He is the president of the American Soybean Association, had a message for the soybean farmers of America and all of the farmers who are involved in agriculture across this country. 2025 Trade Talk, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network here at the National Association of Farm Broadcasting Convention in Kansas City. Being joined right now by the American Soybean Association President Caleb Ragland, of course, a Kentucky producer. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us here today.
Great to be here, Dustin.
Boy, it's been an interesting year from soybeans perspective, especially on trade, and I know that's something we've talked about since the beginning of the year. We said, hey, we knew that there was going to be some tariffs and stuff coming. Agriculture said, hey, we know we're part of the economy as a whole, but we aren't going to be able to manage this for a long period of time. Boy, it's been a year. Kind of talk about how we've weathered that so far.
It's certainly been a ride, and let's face it, the impact of this prolonged trade war has been very difficult economically on soybean farmers in particularly, and there's a pretty bloody financial hole in most operations bottom line here for 2025, and it's very concerning, and it's something we're aware of and trying to work to help improve both for those losses and for the future.
And obviously, I know when we talk about trade, obviously China gets a lot of the focus because they are a big customer of ours. But it's not just China. Obviously, it's been affected by this, but obviously it's the one that stands out the most. Obviously, getting this framework, which is basically all it really is a framework right now. We've seen some good faith purchases here in the last couple of days. How do you really react to that situation and obviously still convey to the administration there's more work to be done yet?
Well, I think it's certainly positive. When we look within those numbers, it's our understanding that most or all of these purchases are from their government. It's a little unclear what all might be taking place or not taking place privately. We're behind on some government reporting due to the shutdown, so there's some little details out there that could make it a little better than it is. But if we're in the ballpark with the numbers, we're about 10% of the way there to that 12 billion commitment, and we got about 6 weeks left here in 25, and I hope we can hit it, but we need to be shipping a bunch, and let's do it. It's time.
And of course, like we said, this is just the beginning. This is to get everybody back to the talks and kind of gets us back and moving in a direction. Because, quite frankly, since about, May, maybe a little earlier, they didn't buy one bean from us at all.
Zero. So it's
not a single bean.
It's a positive step, but certainly a long ways to go, and I want to see some soybeans physically unloaded and get some cash on the barrelhead too.
I hear
that
you.
Would be a positive step that we could really celebrate as well. So we're cautiously optimistic,
right.
I would say, but we need to realize there's much more work to be done. And while we commend the administration that we've got to this point, but we need to put our head down and get a lot more done as well, because the soybean farmers across this country are counting on having strong markets so that we can have strong demand and help dig out of this economic mess that many are in. And I'd also state that the trade war has an impact on our cost as well, because we've looked at increased costs due to tariffs on many of our inputs, and that is another cut that is hurting us. I've kind of said it's death by 1,000 cuts within the farm economy when we look at our costs, how they've all continued to rise, and then we've looked at declining commodity prices, and eventually those cross, and that's put many operations into the red, and there's a lot at stake right now. We're going to be facing situations operations have to make where whether or not that son or daughter comes back to the farm, whether or not the farmer decides to continue or retire, or to continue or go out of business. The financial stress is high, and it's real, and it's the highest it's been in many years. This is my 21st crop this year, and I believe that it's by far the toughest that I've seen the cumulative stress of the finances, and just the whole year has been a challenging year personally on our farm, and I know that's the same for many, many producers across this country. And what I would want to deliver to each farmer is that we are working on your behalf. At ASA, we have a great team of farmer leaders that is committed to improving the economy for soybean producers, to making the future better. We're working hard on policy. We have a great team that is working behind the scenes every day, both in Washington and around the country. And we're doing our best, and I can assure you that while times are tough, there would be a lot of things that are much tougher if we weren't standing in the gap and they're fighting those battles on behalf of our soybean farmers around the country.
You brought up that thing. There's a lot of tough conversations happening around the dining tables, kitchen tables of a lot of American farmers right now. You said 21st crop, so I'm going to imagine you were like me and a kid in the 80s and watching your dad make those same kind of decisions, and he hoped that you would never have to make. And things have been about as tough as they've been since the 80s. I mean, how do you encourage farmers to hang on as long as they possibly can in this tough time? Because it's not just soybeans that are affected by the trade, and most farmers don't raise just soybeans. I mean, there's so much of this ag economy that soybeans are a part of, that to just try to weather it, just to hopefully hold on a little bit longer for the American farms.
Yeah. I think that it is so vital that we still have families that are farming and are producing the food, and that we don't move towards a model where it is corporations and so forth. I mean, times change, businesses change, we have to adapt. I mean, I certainly don't farm the same way my grandfather did, and we're operating on a much larger scale than he did, but we are still truly a family operation to the hilt. My wife and I are both full-time farmers. Our sons are still in school, but they're active on the farm. But that's the story for thousands and thousands of families across this country, and we need to make sure that that opportunity still exists. I mean, I'm a child of the 80s. I was born in 1986, kind of on the backside of everything. My dad started farming in the early 80s, right in the midst of it. He got through the 80s raising pigs, so we have to adapt and look at opportunities, and if something's not working, we can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. We have to be looking at ways that we can trim costs within our operations, try to be as efficient as possible, and structure our purchases and our equipment and debt and so forth, and try to weather the storm. But I would encourage everybody that's struggling, get a team around you. Make sure you're involving and having honest conversations with your bankers, with your agronomist, with your farming friends. It's all important that we stay in touch and not just in these tough times just get down in a hole and hibernate and keep to ourselves, because there's nothing to be ashamed of about the situation. This is not your own doing that we are facing. I mean, there are many things here out of our control that we are the recipients of right now. But farmers are resilient. If it's easy, anybody would do it. and I have confidence that we can find a way to get through. But we've all got to work together to do that. You know, my commitment is that we at ASA are working hard on policy that will help to make the future better. I mean, that's been our commitment for years. That's the direction we continue to go. We don't always win, but we are doing our best to stand in the gap and be that voice. I mean, I'm a farmer first. I'm a volunteer. I'm working, investing my time because I believe in the importance of this, not only for my own operation, but for the future of my kids and for the future of farmers all across this country, the next generation. This is too important to not make a huge priority, and to work as hard as we can for pro-soybean farmer policy.
You know, I don't think you could have said it any better outside of soybeans as well as just agriculture in general. You know, make sure when you're surrounding yourselves with those people, you're taking care of yourself as much as you are the farm, because they need you around, kind of thing too. It's that tough to do. Folks want to learn more about what ASA is doing, maybe get their voices heard, help be a part of getting their voice out to you guys to help speak for them in those government circles. So what is the best way for them to get involved, find out more information?
Well, in Iowa, y'all have a very strong Iowa Soybean Association. They have many resources. I mean, you could look up on the internet, find their website, and find ASA there. You can also find Iowa and ASA on many social media formats. But I think y'all in Iowa even have some local soybean producer groups. You know, find a way to get involved there. There's many opportunities to serve on a local and state level. Find a way to get involved, learn more. There's also opportunities within the checkoff side of things. We need farmers that care, who are dedicated to wanting to make things a little better for their future and to learn more. Because when I got involved in things, I get in 2011, so I mean we're coming up on 15 years now. You know, I was very ignorant on many things. I didn't truly understand the difference between the role of the association and the checkoff and so forth. And many of our farmers, I don't think, fully understand that. But we have a great team within the soy family that there's many different roles that are clearly defined, and there's opportunities for folks that have interest in all those different areas, and we need good people. We need farmers that want to invest, to donate some time to their industry to help make it a little better. And you know, I would encourage young farmers. Corteva sponsors a Young Leader program. That's how my wife Leanne and I got involved in 2011. We were in the Young Leader program, and ironically now, 15 years later, I've had the opportunity to be the president of ASA, and our president next year, Scott Metzger from Ohio, he and his wife were in that program with us together there in 2011.
Wow.
And, it's kind of crazy, but you never know what these opportunities that you choose to take, where they can lead. But, you know, find a place to plug in, get involved, and learn, and, you know, see where your interests take you.
All right. Well, Caleb Ragland is president of the American Soybean Association, been our guest here. Caleb, thanks so much for this talk. It's really been enlightening, and give both on the soybean side and kind of the inspiration to help keep us going here as we go into another year. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot.
And that again was Caleb Ragland, president of the American Soybean Association, here on Ag Matters PM. Time to go into those closing markets right now. Being joined by Kurt Kimmel of agmarket.net. Kurt, what did we see come out of this Friday to end the week?
Well, kind of a stable trade. We saw corn unchanged, down a little lower, beans down 1 to up 3 to 4, wheat up 1 to 2 in Chicago, meal up a few bucks, bean oil down a little. It's just kind of stabilization. The beans pulled back here quite a bit here. We've seen the weekly chart down 2 to 3 cents, but quite a bit off the highs we made earlier in the week. Corn was down about 6-7 cents on the week. Wheat's kind of steady, just kind of weekend coming up. Maybe we're getting in a holiday mode, but not a whole lot of new news. We did see some actual sales announced to China through the week. Nothing here today for the most part. We'll see what next week brings on that. But when we look at the future here, we'll continue to watch demand next week here, as will be a kind of a holiday week towards the end there. Then also, too, we'll see what the South American weather forecast brings. As we move into December, January, that'll be more of a critical thing. The other item today was the December options. The puts and call options in the grains expired here today. So there'll be a drop in open interest come next week, just due to the fact the futures and the options will match up. And we might start losing some liquidity in the marketplace just due to the fact that that was a very popular month. So we're just kind of treading water here and see what China does next week.
Well, then moving on to the livestock side of things, Kurt, I know cattle has had just quite the most volatile couple of weeks as could possibly imagine. What did we see come out of those cattle and hog reports here today?
Yeah, we on the day market held in there, it started limit down in the feeders, particularly just on talk of eliminating the ag tariff imports into the U.S. from Brazil. So that means possibly more Brazilian meat coming in, and we opened limit down and climbed the wall of worry. The fast finished 20 to 70 lower, feeders down $1 to $2, which is a moral victory, I think. So yes, very volatile. If you want to put it all on 17 black, just throw it all in the cattle market here. Cattle and feed reports out here just a little bit. On feed numbers expected to be about 97.9, placements 92.2, marketing is 92.5. So fundamentally, we're still seeing a tight situation. We'll see what that number is. Hogs finished down about $1.60 on the day. On the weekly chart, the fats were down about $4 or $5, feeders down $6, and the hogs down about $1.70 to $1.80. With the cattle sell-off, I thought there would be more unwinding of the cattle-hog spread, but no, hogs have just been kind of numb to what the cattle's been doing here over the last few months.
All right. Well, Kurt, a lot of great information. If folks want to learn more about some of the things you guys are watching at agmarket.net, some of the trends you're following, what's the best way for them to get in touch and get that conversation started?
Here locally, we're at 1-800-779-1515. But go to agmarket.net and click on Untel. That's where the team puts together a lot of our news and research.
All right. Kurt Kimmel's been our guest with agmarket.net. Kurt, thanks so much for the analysis. We'll talk to you again real soon. And have a happy Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you before.
You bet. Take care.
That again was Kurt Kimmel of agmarket.net with a look at our closing numbers. Let's take a look at how they all shook out with a look at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen. At the close, December corn down a penny at $4.25 1/2. Soybeans up 2 1/2 at $11.25 even. December soybean meal up $1.10 at $3.15.10. Soy oil down 40 cents at $50.26. Chicago wheat unchanged at $5.27 even. Kansas winter wheat up 4 3/4 at $5.11 even. Kansas spring wheat down 11 1/4 at $5.28 1/2. Minneapolis spring wheat down 7 3/4 at $5.65 even. Oats down 1/4 cent at $3.05 1/2. On the Merc live cattle down 27 cents at $214.45. Feeders down $2.15 at $314.22. Lean hogs down $1.67 at $77.80. Pork cutouts down 35 cents at $93.22. And Class 3 milk 17 cents. And that's been a check of the closing numbers. And that brings us to the end of this week's coverage from the National Association of Farm Broadcasting in Kansas City. We will be back with you again in the studios coming up next Monday. From the IRN studios here in Kansas City, we'll be back in Des Moines. I'm Dustin Huffman. For Riley Smith and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.